Welcome back everybody to a brand new video. We are going to be looking at the top 6 scariest paranormal encounters. Exploring an abandoned school. What could go wrong? Let me start this off by saying this is my first post on Reddit. When I was 14, me and my two friends, I will call Jack and Gareth, decided to explore an abandoned school not too far from our actual school. We had been planning to explore it for a while. Eventually we did. When we first entered the abandoned school, it was around 6:30 p.m. Now keep in mind that this was a 3-story school. The first 2 floors was fine. We were having fun trying to scare each other now and then, until we went up to the 3rd floor. We went on until we found a locked room, maybe a closet. We tried so hard to open it. We tried everything to unlock that room. We eventually gave up and kept on looking around, figuring that there's no way we could get into this room. After 20 minutes of exploring, we went back to the stairs near the locked door, because the other staircase was blocked, only this time to see that the locked door was fully opened. My one friend Jack basically walked in without thinking, with Gareth following just behind him. But I didn't want to go in. I told them that there might be someone in there sleeping, and that I might be too scared to enter. We found out that that room was full of Skittles and ripped up clothes, and the full-size bed. I told both of my friends that we should leave before whoever was in there would come back. After we took about 10 steps away from the room, the door slammed shut hard. We all ran. We left the school in a matter of seconds. I will never know who or what slammed that door, but now that I looked back on it, it could have been way worse than I thought. Creepy sleep paralysis encounter. I usually never post what I encounter, but this was a really scary morning for me, and I'm going to tell you all about it. So one Sunday morning, my family and I went out to eat. We usually have breakfast at home because we don't like spending money on food all the time. We ate and we drove home. As we drive home, my mom says she has to go to the store with my grandma. She asked me if I wanted to go with them. Me being me said no, because I'm already too tired because we woke up early, and all I wanted to do was go back to sleep. She drops me off and I enter my house. I lock it just to stay safe, like any other person would if they were home alone. I walk to my bedroom and I lay down on my bed. I just slowly start passing out. I know before I fall asleep, I didn't have my TV on or anything like that, so my room was quiet. I do have a bird that chirps a lot, so I don't know if this encounter I had anything to do with it. But my point is, I fell asleep and I was on my left side sleeping. I remember I wasn't even dreaming or thinking about anything while I was asleep. But all of a sudden, I encountered a strange feeling, and it didn't feel normal. At first I knew I was sleeping, but then at the same time, I knew I wanted to wake up, but I couldn't. I don't suffer from sleep paralysis or anything, but for some reason this day I did. As I was sleeping, probably after 5 to 10 minutes of sleep, I hear a scary demonic scream in my right ear. I mean, this was like a nightmare in my sleep, but I wasn't dreaming, and it just suddenly happened. I got scared because I felt it, and my ears started to tingle. I tried to wake up, but I couldn't, and I was just terrified. Then I started noticing a black figure in the corner of my eye right next to me, and it kind of looked like a nun, but this was just a figure and not an actual nun. I tried opening my eyes, but I couldn't. I also forgot to mention that I do come from a spiritual family, so we all believe in God. In my sleep, when I saw that black figure, I said, "I rebuke him in the name of Jesus." I kept repeating this saying over and over again. After saying those words, the figure quickly disappeared. I think after a few minutes I heard my mom and grandma come back. I didn't really tell them what happened because I didn't want to scare them. What I did do though was remind myself that I should always pray before I go to sleep or even take a nap, because who knows what kind of sleep paralysis will encounter you, or if I was even dreaming in the first place. Tapping on my door at 2 a.m. Me and my friends were sleeping in the living room from a sleepover. There are 2 glass doors facing the back garden. Covering the doors are curtains in front of them. My air mattress was in front of these doors. I had a nap at around midnight and woke up at 3. While sitting on the couch, my friends tell me that while they were sitting on the couch playing some Siege, they heard a slow and hard tapping on the window about 6 times. They went outside to see if anything was there. There was nothing around. This freaked me out a ton. Paranormal or not, black hair. I've lived in the same house now for over 12 years. Before I moved out, it was an innocent vintage house that laid on top of a hill. We had a maid that usually cleaned our house once a month. She was nice and we were close with her. We were quite surprised when she said she was quitting. We kept asking her why, but she wouldn't tell us, saying that she wasn't comfortable with telling us. We were beyond confused. After lots of begging, she finally told us what made her want to leave. She said that while she was cleaning the house, she saw a girl in a white dress with long black hair that covered her face. We all had dirty blonde hair and weren't home at the time she was cleaning the house. We were super freaked out when she told us this. That night, when I was in bed, it suddenly got really cold. I hugged the nearest pillow next to me to keep me warm. That morning, I woke up and found a long black lock of hair on my bed. The pillow I was hugging was on the opposite side of the room. My siblings pranked me a lot, so I automatically assumed they were messing with me. So I ran downstairs into their rooms and told them it wasn't funny. They denied it, and I didn't believe them. That was until they told me they weren't home last night, and that they just got back this morning. And that's when I remembered that they both were at a sleepover with their friends last night. I knew my parents wouldn't do this, so I immediately was freaked out. Since that moment, all of my friends refused to sleep over, claiming that they would see a girl of that exact description of our maid staring at them. I would keep waking up with strands of hair in my bed. It got so bad to the point where I started sleeping in my parents' room. Not so long after that, we moved out. But I soon found that way back, a serial killer lived in our house and buried his victims under the house. He preferred little girls, and that still freaks me out to this day. Creepy school camping trip hotel experience. Okay, so this happened last summer. My high school had organized a 2-week camping trip. I live in Scotland, if anyone cares. The campsite itself was hours and hours away by bus, so we stayed in a hotel for the night en route. Me and a friend went to our room and had a jump around on the beds and a rake around in the cupboard before I flopped down on the bed and stared at the white ceiling. It seems random for me to say that, but trust me, it's relevant. We chatted for a while before he produced an Ouija board and some candles. I don't believe in that kind of thing, but I was up for a laugh, seeing as it can be fun to indulge in some spooky silliness now and then, despite being a skeptic. Anyways, we turned the lights off and played for a while, and not much happened. We mostly just asked stupid questions and jokingly moved it with mock discreetness. One of our other students suddenly knocked on the door and told us to come down for coffee and cake, and a talk from the teachers about the plan for the next day, etc. So we turned on the light, only to see muddy footprints on the ceilings. Adult-sized, muddy footprints leading from one corner of the ceiling to the other, with a slight jumble in the middle. They had most certainly not been there before we had turned the lights off in the first place. We were the only two people that were in the room the entire time. We ran down and told the teachers. We then told the manager, and soon our room was crowded with everyone trying to see the footprints. The manager looked obviously upset, but not in a way that I would have expected. I don't know, it was weird. She didn't seem creeped out or scared. She just seemed panicked, as if we'd discovered a hair on the pillow and were planning on writing a bad review. I don't know. Her alarm didn't seem convincing or genuine to me, and my friend also remarked the same thing back to me. Everyone else thought we had done it, but the manager didn't even, for a second, seem to question it or ask to see our shoes to compare, which I mean is something, but I'd have done it in her position, with a bunch of teenagers on a school trip who could have blamed her if she'd have thought it was just a prank, but she didn't, which just seemed odd to me. She kept insisting it must have been the previous guest, but I would have bet my life and every penny I had that the ceiling had been blank before. Hell, I looked right up at it from my bed. Even if I haven't, those huge muddy footprints were hard to miss. I saw glaring out from the otherwise pristine white room. None of us had phones, per teacher's rule, so we wouldn't have gotten signal out there anyway. I did have a photo on my disposable camera, so I am trying to locate it. I hope I can soon. But back to the story. Eventually the teachers calmed everyone down, and we had to go down for coffee. We locked our room. The key was in my pocket all night. The teachers at this point thought it was us who had done it. They didn't say it directly, but I could tell since they didn't take it seriously. So after we had our coffee and played cards, we went back to our room. We unlocked the door, and I sat at the lamp desk in the corner of the room, doing some doodling before bed, whilst my friend had a shower. My foot touched something under the desk, and I lay down to pick it up. It was a ball of some sort. Looking at it, it was an apple, with razors sticking out. Someone had half-embezzled razors all over an apple and set it under the desk. I dragged my friend out of the shower, and he was mad. He thought it was one of the other students messing us around. But then we went over the events logically, and the room had been locked the entire time we were gone. There hadn't even been a cleaner in to clean the footprints off of the ceilings. We'd been told to ignore them and stop causing hysteria. We looked at the apple again, and it looked fresh. The pierced areas of exposed white hadn't gone brown yet, which apples usually do after a very short period of time. So our guess was this apple hadn't been lying there from a previous guest, because apples tend to go brown within minutes. We didn't tell the manager or the teachers, because we thought we'd only get in trouble by the teachers. We threw the apple out the window, which probably wasn't a good idea, but we just didn't want it around, and we both slept in the corridor. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still skeptical. After all I have been all my life, but this is something that will never leave me. I just cannot explain what happened that night. My sister and I share our room. My sister and I share our room, and I like to sleep in darkness. Well, she doesn't. We settled to open a little crack from the door so she can at least see what's going on around her. So in about 10 minutes I felt something standing next to my bed, right by my head. And it was hot. I felt the heat, and I knew how tall it was. I don't know how I knew, but I just knew. It just stood there. I was really scared. I couldn't even turn my head. And all this time I was telling myself that it's just my imagination. And then my sister called me. And she said, "I feel like someone is standing next to my bed." I acted like it was alright. Tried to tell her, "Must have been your imagination." I felt like I didn't want it to know. Thank you all so much for coming and checking out this video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, as I really do appreciate it. Really does bring a smile to my face, and I really do love you guys even more. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you so much for all of the support. You guys are the best. Have a great night. Peace out.